This is when FONS, Filipino-Americans National Historical Society, that's what FONS stand for. They introduced the concept of Filipino-American History Month to celebrate the advancement and contributions of Filipinos in U.S. history.
Sweet. Shout out, FONS.
Yeah. Cheers to you, FONS. Mabuhay.
I'm Trizzy.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Ticket to Anywhere podcast, bringing you the gear, tools, and tips to equip you for a travel-filled life.
No matter your travel experience or lack thereof, we aim to be your first stop when you're thinking of where to go, how to get there, what to bring, and what to do.
Catch the latest episode every other Wednesday on YouTube or your favorite listening app.
We'd love to connect with you. Find Ticket to Anywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and LinkedIn.
Welcome back to the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Trizzy.
And I'm Leah. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay to my kababayan. That means long live to my country people, my countrymen and women in Tagalog. Basically, because this episode is on Filipino-American History Month, which is coming up in a few weeks in October. And it's a cool episode because we talk about the history, contributions, and ways you can celebrate as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was great for us to learn about it, great for us to do the research, hear the history, learn about the heritage, and put it together for you guys.
Yeah. There was a lot of research that we did, and I feel like we could talk for hours on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we wanted to make this a nice, sweet, not too sweet, condensed...
Not too sweet. You'll hear why we said that.
A nice little, you know, condensed episode for you to kind of like have in your back pocket if you ever, you know, want to know what Filipinos meant to U.S. history.
Yeah.
So we've been here a long time.
Yeah, because I'm sure they don't talk about this in school,
No, they
right?
absolutely don't.
Yeah.
Absolutely don't. Especially with all these like weird book bans.
Oh my gosh,
coming around. And always, oh my gosh, I read a good quote the other day. History is always written and retold in the eyes of the victor. Which means like people from England.
Where do you see all these quotes? It's like every episode you have a new quote. I read a lot.
Yeah, I do. I read a lot. I just read them just on the interwebs, you know? So we're here to tell you about the part of history that no one talks about.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not Filipino-American.
Right? Yeah. We provided a lot of resources for you guys to indulge in the culture wherever you're at. It could be elsewhere outside of Southern California.
We don't know every Filipino place in the U.S. So our friends, if you're out there listening, watching, you are invited to drop your favorite spot in the comments.
Yes. On
YouTube, or you can, you know, send us DMs on Instagram, TikTok, whatever your favorite social media platform is. But in true fashion, we had to drink some ube drinks.
Yes.
And if you don't know what ube is and why are these drinks so purple, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us, just close your eyes and imagine. But by now, I feel like ube is a phenomenon in the United States. So ube is like a sweet purple potato.
Yeah. Purple yam.
A purple yam, yes, because there's a difference. From the Philippines that Filipino-Americans like to get really, really creative with. Because I've noticed Filipinos, actually, they're like, why are you Americans so obsessed with ube?
I know. It's
and I'm
like nothing
I don't know.
to them.
It's nothing to them. It's in like their regular like bread rolls.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to them at all.
Yeah.
And like, you guys get so creative with it. I'm like, we do. We like to put in a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
So.
Capitalism.
Yeah. Find as many ways as possible.
Exactly.
To market this sweet purple yam.
But it's delicious. I have an ube latte with oat milk. Lovely Leah picked it up from one of our favorite places, the place that originated Ticket to Anywhere podcast.
Yes.
Good People Coffee Company.
Out on Santa Monica Boulevard in West LA. And I have the dirty ube latte. The dirty ube latte, which actually the name of this drink at the shop is called the Purple Nurple.
Oh, that's
I forgot.
Right.
So we got the purple nerps in the building.
Oh, man.
She doesn't have, I don't think yours can be considered purple and nurple because there's no caffeine in it.
No.
So I got the
There's no nerps. There's no nerps in here. I just got the purple. There is a difference between ube and taro, though. So taro is like other types of Southeast Asian origin.
Yes.
Ube is
from
specifically
the
Philippines.
Because you'll notice, like, if you're looking at Asian desserts and Asian flavors, taro is also purple, but it's usually a very light purple. Like a lavender. Yeah. But still, they both have that nutty taste, which is divine. I love them both equally, to be honest.
We hope you guys enjoy this episode, and thank you to our sponsors, Rhino, for this amazing topic, Filipino-American History Month. So cheers to October and to Filipino-Americans and to us for having another episode.
Cheers. Filipinos have been in America for a very long time. They have for centuries and centuries and centuries, actually.
One of the first few.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So October 1587, first Filipinos arrived in Morro Bay, California. That is like the first recorded ship of Filipinos that came on. And this is all leading up to Filipino-American History Month, which is October, which is upcoming, as you heard in our intro. We're going to run through a little bit of the history, though, so you can see why this month is celebrated, right, in general. And 1587 was more than 400 years before the holiday or the month, the celebration became official. Right.
It was recent that it became official, right?
Yep. 2009, and we're working up to that. Like, that sounds so late. That was only 14 years ago.
Yeah. We were partying in college.
Yeah. It was like becoming official as we were just turning 20. Well, I'm not going to age us or just leave the ages out of it. Let's just keep. And then we discovered through the title of it, Lisa Ling's
Takeout with Lisa Ling. It's on HBO Max. That in Louisiana, there are descendants nearly maybe like 100 years after the arrival in Morro Bay, that there were more Filipinos.
They said they literally jumped off the galleon ships that the Spanish
swam in the swamp, and
a small city in the bayou. They ended up at Jean Lafitte, and they created their own colony, which started the dried shrimp industry in the U.S. Wild, right?
Crazy, yeah.
So now there's a lot of history there that's maybe unwritten, or they try to squash it down. But the next big tentpole event we know, and this is huge because this is around the world. 1898, Filipino-American population first started booming after the Philippines became a territory of the U.S.
Wow.
Because this was the Spanish-American War when the Spanish surrendered the Philippines to the U.S. And we're going to stay on Filipino-American history. I'm going to try not to dig into history of the Philippines, but we're explaining how the Filipinos came over here, and then we started our own. And so 1898, that's also, okay, last thing I'm going to say about that. If you're wondering why so many Filipinos speak English, it's because after the Philippines became a U.S. territory of the U.S., they implemented English healthcare, English education all over the Philippines. So the Filipinos have been learning to speak English since kindergarten for over 120 years.
For sure.
That is why, if you're ever wondering how the Southeast Asian nation knows so much English, that is why.
Yeah, so don't be scared to take a trip out to the Philippines.
Yeah, I mean, we have plenty of episodes talking about how it's easy because of the lack of language barrier, right? Maybe harder because of the transportation.
Yes.
But no language barrier. Everyone is bilingual. Most people are, especially the younger generations, right? So World War II now, Filipinos fought along American allies. And to this day, there are many military bases still set up in the Philippines. And that is also how my dad, I'm Filipino-American, first generation right here. LA in flight, Leah is. That's the way my dad came over to the U.S., but he came over in the 70s.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
The U.S. Navy drafted him. all the Filipino uncles and dads have this one story about how they were one of 3 Filipinos to get drafted that year. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've heard that from 6 Filipino men, that you are one of 3 Filipinos. You know, with the promise, the U.S. Navy promised to bring their family over, etc. And they did. Sometimes it just took a few years, but they did bring them over.
Interesting. I learned something new about your family.
Yeah.
Too.
My dad brought my my mamang and papang first, which is my grandma and my grandpa on my dad's side. He brought them over first, and then he started bringing over his siblings and their family.
Okay. Did your parents meet in the Philippines?
My parents met. So both my parents are Filipino. My parents met in Marina del Rey, California.
How romantic.
At a club, yeah.
Oh,
which is great.
At a club.
At a club. Something like that,
That's
yeah.
so funny.
Obviously, the club does not exist anymore because there are no clubs in Marina del Rey. But yeah, I just think it's funny that they didn't meet in the Philippines. They met here in California. Okay. So this state holds a special place in my heart, right? And so, you know, during World War II was I read 1910, 1940, Filipino immigrants arrived at Angel Island, San Francisco, which is like the Ellis Island of San Francisco, right? Along with thousands of others. This is asiannation.org, thank you. Along with thousands of others seeking the opportunity and freedom that the American dream represented. And everyone who's at least Asian American and the world should know that, like, San Francisco was a beacon for all Asians in the 20th century. So they all, and I mean, it's the West Coast is close to Asia, you know, but like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, that was like the light of hope in America. Yeah.
That was our
Ellis Island.
Yeah. That was our Statue of Liberty.
It was. Absolutely true. And then, you know, somewhere in the 1920s, 1930s, I read lots of hostility towards Filipinos, you know, because people were like, they're dark. What are they doing here? Yeah. They're working manual.
Colorism.
Yeah, colorism. So I had read that, and we won't touch too much into this, but the U.S. started limiting their immigration to the United States to like 50 people a year, which
from the Philippines.
That's like
total?
Just my family.
Right.
That's just me and my cousins.
Y'all gotta be family for sure.
Yeah, like total. They're basically like one family per year. Oh, wow. But I don't think that lasted too long. So okay. And then moving into a lot of the more modern day fights that we had for liberties and whatnot. 1965, Larry Itliong, very popular Filipino figure. He was a leader in the Delano grape strike of 1965. This took place in California. It was a labor movement for better wages for farmers. Larry helped with that, and he partnered with Cesar Chavez, who is a very important figure in California, in Los Angeles, because he was a leader in fighting for workers' rights, workers' payment, all of those things that, you know, people in the farm should have. But together they started the formation of the United Farm Workers of America Union. Nice. And Cesar Chavez, actually, me and my sister looked it up. This is so random, but like it's celebrated in a lot of like schools and government buildings in California, but it's a very big like Western United States holiday. Anyways, Larry Itliong was a big part of that. Yeah. So
there's a good documentary. I haven't watched it, but it was on one of the things to watch about the grape strike. It's called the Delano Manongs, and it highlights this strike and what he's done.
What is it? Where can you watch it? Do you know?
It's not on Netflix, not on Hulu. It's something that you have to pay for. What I saw first on the Google search is like PBS.
You know what's underrated? Checking your local library and signing up for free. Right. Libraries are so underrated, and they're state and federally funded, which means they're for the public.
Yeah. Use your tax dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, libraries are so underrated. That could be a whole episode. Because they got Wi-Fi in bathrooms, too.
Wi-Fi and bathrooms.
And then, okay. So now we're getting to the 1990s. This is when FONS, Filipino-Americans National Historical Society. That's what FONS stand for. They introduced the concept of Filipino-American History Month to celebrate the advancement and contributions of Filipinos in U.S. history.
Sweet. Shout out FONS.
Yeah. Cheers to you, FONS. Mabuhay. Right? Long live. But 1992. But it wasn't until, wild, 2009 that U.S. Congress, aka Obama and team, recognized Filipino-American History Month as an official month.
Yeah.
2009, that was only 14 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of the history behind
good stats.
Phil-Am History Month. I mean, that was a very, very much shortened history. And then, like, you know, we're listening to podcasts on the way up here, prepping for this episode on History Month versus Heritage Month. What are your thoughts on that?
Because the history is kind of basically what your timeline that you've given us.
Yeah.
Heritage is when we dive into, you know, like the food, the arts, how dancing became such a big.
Yep. I have a quote here. So the late Dr. Don Mabalan, this is from Google Arts and Culture, everyone, so you know I'm citing my sources, renowned historian and community leader who is also believed to be the first Pinay means a Filipino woman, to earn a PhD in American history from Stanford University. Quote, history is inclusive of heritage and culture, but it is also about the ways we have built and changed this nation, whereas heritage is more limited to what we pass down in terms of culture, tradition, legacies. When you listen to things from like TFAL podcasts and One Down Media, which are big Filipino-American outlets and resources, history is dark and deep a lot of times. Yeah. Heritage is the ube cookies and the ube lattes and, you know, the lumpia snacks, but the history isn't about that.
It's true. History is raw information. Sometimes people want to shy away from the history.
And there's a good quote that someone said about how history, I think people are scared to talk about it sometimes because if your people are the villain, why would you want to talk about that, right? Yeah. It's a lot.
Well, we got deep there a little bit.
We got deep, but that's Filipino-American History Month. And you know what's sad? A little bit of background on me is that I grew up in a half-white household. And I'm saying that because I previously said both of my parents are from the Philippines, immigrants from the Philippines. They met, had me, and then got divorced. So my mom remarried a literal white man. That's why my stepfather, whom I love, my sisters are Hapa. That's why my sisters are Hapa. But being Filipino, growing up in a half-white household in a predominantly white town with a predominantly white high school, that was just my demographic growing up. Right now it's a lot more diverse in 2023, way more diverse. Back then, 20 years ago, growing up, not as diverse as it is now, but that has a big impact on me. So for me, even though I was bestowed and taught and honestly even forced these traditions and cultural things like take off your shoes, kiss all your elders when you enter the room, you don't learn the importance of them and you just hate all of that stuff growing up, right? You don't appreciate, there's no appreciation. There's no appreciation for the reason why you do these things, right? So it wasn't until I got into college, university, we both went to Long Beach State. That's where we met. Yeah. But it wasn't until I got there did I start trying to appreciate the fact that I was Filipino. Probably because there were not many around growing up. It was just my family, you know?
Right, yeah.
And then I tried to join one of the Filipino clubs at my college. I hope it's different now. Shout out. I hope it's different now. But I actually felt that I wasn't Filipino enough for sure, which is a big problem amongst a lot of Asian Americans and has been for decades. Right. And we've talked about this on the podcast before, not feeling Asian enough, but then also like, obviously we're not white, so we don't feel like a white American. Right. But we're doing all these things to fit in. It's like, what culture are we actually part of, right?
Yeah. So when you went to the Philippines for the first time.
Yep. Which was again, like 15 years after I left college, right? And only a few years ago.
Right. But. So January 2020 was Leo's first time back or first time
in the Philippines.
Ever. How did you feel then?
For the most part, accepted. Okay. Except besides the fact that I don't even understand the language. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying that, but go ahead, hate on me. That just says a lot more about you than it does about me. Because I've had people being like, you don't even understand Tagalog. I'm like, does that make me less Filipino? Yeah. Absolutely not. It doesn't. It's just much harder to learn at the age and stage in my life that I'm at. But for the most part, I felt very accepted. Everyone was really nice. I did feel a little left out when like they would talk about things in their native language and then they'd have to translate it into English for me. Because I'd feel bad. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't understand. And it's a tough language, you know, and everyone in the Philippines speaks English.
Yeah. But you know what? Like we're on the same boat. My partner, she's Filipino, native. Born and raised in the Philippines. My first time going there, I felt exactly the same. Accepted because, man, that's their culture. They're so warming when they welcome you. Like that's what you're gonna feel. But yes, when they started talking in their native tongue, it was like, oh, where do I go? Where do I stand? Right. Do I just look at my phone? And then Maui would have to translate. Yeah. But you know, as it goes on, I understand a little bit more.
But you know what's always in English? Karaoke.
Ooh.
Always in English.
Yes.
So just stick by the magic mic. But yeah, so basically I actually didn't know. The point I was getting to was I didn't know about Filipino-American History Month.
Yeah.
Until actually after college. So I didn't end up joining the college organization for Filipinos. I instead joined a marketing organization, AMA, which that's how Trizzy and I met. So forever grateful for that. But yeah, I didn't really feel accepted by the Filipinos at my own college. Whereas my sister, who is Hapa, she's so Hapa, she doesn't even look Filipino. She looks Latina. Everyone thinks she's Latina. But she's 2 years younger than me. And so when she was going to school up in Northern California, she joined FASU, which is the Filipino organization at Sonoma State University, and they were more accepting of her. And she is Hapa. She looks half white, half Asian, and sometimes Latina. So I feel like that said a lot about the organization.
The
where
north
I'm like
and south of California.
Yeah, where I literally look very Filipino, and I still didn't feel right. I didn't feel welcome. You know, whereas she is only half, and they were just like, yeah, come on.
Leah does not disrespect the culture of, or like the traditions of being Filipino. So that you should be very, very proud of.
I try to embrace them. You know, I'm still learning. Like
me too.
Yeah. I feel like the older I get, the more I love it. Also, very important fact, women are the culture carriers from generation to generation. In our minds and our hearts, mentally, emotionally, we carry the culture, pass it down to future generations.
Right.
So it's up to us. And you think about it, I have a niece and nephew who are only 1/4 Filipino. 1/4. So the world is on my shoulders to make sure they remember their Filipino heritage.
It's on you.
It's on me. Yeah. The parents already got a lot to do, right?
Right, yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, there is a lot. And it's great that
it's deeper than what we can fit into an episode, you know?
It's a very blessed opportunity and topic for us to talk about because we get to research about it too.
Yes.
And learn about it.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, but now we should jump into how we're going to celebrate.
Right.
And hopefully not just in October, but
all year round.
All year round.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked you like heritage versus history earlier is if you listen to a lot of other media and podcasts, people will rag on being like, oh, is Filipino History Month just, you know, giving out ube cookies and ube lattes, right?
Yeah.
That's the second time I've said that. But I mean, that's part of the heritage, yes. But also, if you can hand someone an ube latte and still talk about the importance and the impact that Filipinos made, that's fine. Don't let anyone tell you you're doing it wrong, right? Because we're about to do that. We're about to be like, hey, here's where you can get an ube latte. In California, you know, we talk about History Month. And I think maybe the easiest way to understand a History Month is to start with the heritage and the culture, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Eat the food of the people, dance to their music, listen to their stories. To celebrate this month of October that's coming up, you know, we've compiled a lot of great ways to celebrate and connect with Filipino culture so you can start understanding why we have this History Month.
One of my favorite ways is through the food.
I mean, Food is like the culture carrier. Women are the culture carrier, and so is the food.
And the food. And this one in particular, I've done it a few times. I loved it. It's the Kamayan dinner, Kamao style dinner, and it's, I believe, banana leaf on the table, and you just put the food there. It could be pancit, lechon, shrimp, fish, tilapia,
rice, veggies, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and you like decorate it very nicely. Just think of like a cheese board. But
did you do it in the Philippines also?
No, did not do it in the Philippines.
That's great. I've only done it in the Philippines.
Oh, really?
I haven't done it here in the U.S.
I think it's because they know I don't eat seafood. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay.
So they're just trying to be respectful of me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I've done it here in the U.S., Los Angeles.
Okay.
So if you like large gathering, Kamayan is the way to go. It's also called a Boodle Fight. And I don't know why
with
it's
the
called
kababayan.
Yeah. Ever.
Boodle Fight is a cute name for it. That's a much easier way to remember it for just the English speakers and people who can't remember the Filipino words for it. So many Filipino-American restaurants around the U.S. and Canada are making it their own. You know, they're modernizing it with our generation. They're making it like fun and modern and really tasty.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and that's like how shrimp boiled was kind of like inspired too. That's what we learned in Takeout with Lisa Ling. So yeah, watch that too. That's also a way to celebrate. Watch. Yeah. A lot of these Filipino history heritage documentaries, and I mean, I know you guys got Hulu, Netflix, everything, so it's at your palm,
available.
Yeah.
YouTube, search for it on YouTube even. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wearing my Filipino earrings too.
Ooh, I like that.
These
you should it's the star,
right next to the flag, the sun. Right. Sunkissed Pinay. She's a pretty big Filipina. I think she's based up in the Bay Area, but she makes a lot of jewelry. Shout out to Ava. She gave these to me. Yeah. But I had to wear them for the Filipino episode.
It's gorgeous.
You know.
Yes. A great way to celebrate too.
Exactly. Say you're like not even of Filipino heritage and you want to know how to celebrate with Filipinos. You don't have any Filipino friends, or you're in an area where there's like literally you don't know one Filipino, which is impossible because we're everywhere. But connect with local organizations, and this is easily done through Google search, Instagram search. You can find, literally type in like Filipino-American Club, Filipino-American Society, etc. So for example, in Southern California, there's a big organization called SoCal Filipinos, which celebrate like the history and heritage, but they're always hosting events, running events. This is how you can interact with their stuff, meet new people, and find out what events are going on specifically for the month of October, hopefully throughout the entire year. But also FACT, F-A-C-T, in San Jose, Filipino-Americans coming together. They hold Filipino-American History Month Fam Jam. They hold it every October as well. So celebrations up in the Bay Area. But two examples, SoCal, San Jose, and there's a lot of Filipinos in the Bay Area. Few other organizations. Kultivate Labs is a nonprofit economic development and arts organization up in the Bay Area as well. Even check, I was telling Trizzy before this, a great way to check is start with your local Philippines consulate. They're not in every city, but they're a great, they are culture holders as well. They are there to serve the people, Filipino, Filipino-American or not. So the consulate they have in cities like LA, San Francisco, DC, New York City, Houston, Honolulu. Start with those if you're in a bigger metropolitan area. Yeah. University students, like we mentioned earlier, check your school's organizations. I guarantee you they will have a Filipino club. Yeah. 100%. Of some sort, right? Yeah. And like we said, Long Beach State, it's called PAC, Sonoma State's FASU. And even in LA, one of like we said, through food is a great way to celebrate. But Field Market in LA, that happens once a month, and it brings a lot of Filipino-based vendors together so we can shop and eat and enjoy Filipino culture. And I'm sure they're doing big things for October. Along with Field, there are other Filipino-owned businesses in Los Angeles and across the world. A few that I want to shout out is, I didn't know there's a Filipino place out in Hawthorne, California. Now, Hawthorne is kind of like West Los Angeles-ish, and there's barely any Asian food, let alone Filipino food. So pick your plate,
is in Hawthorne, and it's this type of restaurant is fast food, and it's called like a turo, which is called point in Filipino. And you just point at which dish you want, or which entree you want, kind of like a Panda Express. Yeah. And with that, in Carson, California, Tita Celia, apparently they have very, very good breakfasts. Also another turo type place. So check them out. I'm from Seattle, if you guys remember, Seattle, Washington. So hood famous, Filipino-owned ube cheesecake with good. Many other flavors too. They also have like coconut, like some sort of cassava cake. They do drinks as well. I brought Leah some ube cheesecake before. So good. And congrats to them because they got so big. Their cheesecake are being sold in Asian grocery stores in Seattle. Yeah.
Oh, in Seattle.
In Seattle. I don't know if it's like here in Los Angeles or anywhere else in the world, but go check them out. They have their website, Hood Famous, and
that's super cool.
I know, so congrats to them, and it's very, very good. So shout out to the Bay too. We have some friends working at the Sarap shop.
They own it.
They own it. Sorry, yeah, they own it and they're working it.
I know, I'm like,
definitely working it. And
Filipino food truck is Sarap shop.
Yeah.
Also, Señor Sisig in the Bay Area is a big like Filipino fusion truck as well. There's a lot of Filipino trucks up there. Some of them come and go.
This is something that I'm very proud of. You know, the first Filipino Michelin star restaurant, Kasama, located in Chicago, Illinois. Now we have to make our way there.
Kasama.
Yes, I'm sure they could, do some vegetarian plates for you.
Maybe. I don't know. Some of these fancy shops, they don't do modifications. Some of the really fancy ones.
Yeah.
If you're a big The Bear fan on Hulu, season 2, episode 1 or 2, they film at Kasama, which was massive. I screamed when I saw that because Filipinos, we weren't on the map for a long time, and now we are.
Yeah, and they now gave them
we're
their
in
acknowledgement.
Hulu series. Yeah, for sure. Now we're in Hulu series with Jeremy Allen White. So.
Yeah, but I mean, there's tons of other Filipino-owned businesses. If you Google, Eater will come up, the Infatuation will come up, Thrillist. They have very comprehensive list of not top, but probably just like best places like recommended from the writers as well in major cities. New York, Chicago, San Francisco, here.
100%. So Filipino coffee from the Philippines used to be a big thing. And then it wasn't for decades because Costa Rica came in, Brazil came in, Vietnam came in, Colombia came in, and these are the big hitters in the coffee industry. They're huge, and they mass produce coffee, and they ship it all over the world and back again. So Filipino coffee was not a thing anymore when these countries stepped in. However, there are certain shops throughout California and throughout the U.S. that are trying to make it a thing again, which I think is wonderful because no one ever talks about Filipino coffee. So 2 of my favorite shops that are doing that are Teofilo's down in Los Alamitos. Shout out to Teofilo's. I always go down there when I'm visiting friends. And Varraco in Palm Desert. I have a lot of content on Varraco on my Instagram page, LA in Flight. This is Filipino coffee from the motherland, which is really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So, of course, you get the Filipino flavors, the ube, the pandan, but you get coffee that's from the Philippines as well, which is quite rare these days.
Yes.
And then I shout out Kim and team at Sand and Wolves before. Congrats on your new brick and mortar place down in Long Beach. But Sand and Wolves is a Long Beach-based vegan Filipino bakery pop-up. Y'all, when I say they're amazing, that is like sleeping on them because they are literally probably my favorite. Not even just Filipino business in LA. They're like my favorite business because I will plug them into every sentence I can because I love them so much.
Earlier this year when she was moderating a panel at the Travel and Adventure show, before she went, she stopped at Sand and Wolves because they had a pop-up.
Yeah. Right at Lasita in Chinatown. Yeah.
That's how much she loves it.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I'm a leave early before this panel and I'm going to pick up these Filipino treats. So I left like 2-3 hours early just to stand in line for the treats. And I was second in line, so it was worth it.
Yeah.
And I bought everything my heart desired. But I'm excited that they're going to be having like an actual shop in Long Beach.
That's
I think
big.
that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, congrats.
I think Kim's been working, you know, out of ghost kitchens in her own home for years and years. So this is huge for them. And I love seeing them at every Filipino and Asian fest I go to around LA.
Love it.
And now Trizzy and I are both in LA, so we got some LA classics, of course. Some of these we haven't been to, some of them we have. But if you're new to LA or you're coming to LA or you're looking for more things to enjoy in LA, we have Dollar Hits, of course. B Sweet, which is also one of my favorite bakeries on Sawtell on the west side. Big Boy is actually the sister restaurant to Be Sweet, which is cool. Big Boy is mainly barbecue focused. Yeah. Actually, I don't think I can eat anything at Big Boy except for rice.
Oh, that's true. It's like Big Boy is the savory and Be Sweet is like the sweet, the dessert.
100%. Yeah. And they're so good. Kuya Lord is getting pretty popular, picking up a lot of press. They're based out in Hollywood. Yeah. Right? Lasita, which we just mentioned, where Santa Wolves had a pop-up. They do, you know, Filipino food and also natural wine. Sari-Sari at Grand Central Market. Have you been to it yet?
I've seen it, but there's many times where I had the opportunity, but I would get too full after like the first dish.
It's got to be the first one then.
I know. It has to be the first one next
when
time.
When you walk into, like, I can't even remember which direction, but one of the main entrances to Grand Central Market is literally like right in front of you. The last time I tried to get food there, I think they were out of a lot of stuff. Oh, they're just that popular.
I know they have a Sisig, so that's definitely gonna be on my list.
But I love that, like, in a place like Grand Central Market, that in downtown LA that draws a lot of tourists, that there's also a Filipino shop there.
Yes,
that makes me very happy, right?
For sure.
And then of course historic Filipino town in LA, small but mighty, and that's where you'll find a lot of coffee shops, a lot of little restaurants that you can pop into, a lot of Filipino businesses.
Do you remember a long time ago we met up there?
Oh my gosh.
At the historic Filipino
How
town.
long ago? This must have been so long ago.
It was very long ago. Probably like right after we graduated college. We haven't seen each other in a while. And then we were like, let's meet up there. But it was so small. It was hard to find a place to eat at.
I think I remember this. Did we end up eating anywhere?
We did eat somewhere.
Was it a Filipino place?
It was a Filipino place.
Do we have any photos?
I don't think so. It was just like one of those quick catch-up sessions.
Oh my gosh. I do remember this though.
Yeah.
And this was probably, I think, maybe a little over 10 years ago.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So
it wasn't as changed.
Yeah. And it wasn't as built up as it is
now. Because now they have the gate, right? Like
yep.
The arch
they have like
something.
The sign to commemorate.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so long. That's how long her and I have known each other. And then of course, so it was previously called Max's of Manila. It's now called Max's Restaurant, and it is a Filipino restaurant. Their tagline is the house that built fried chicken, right? The house that built chicken. And, you know, they became popular in the Philippines, and they came to the U.S., Canada, and Guam, and they have locations all over, or certain cities and areas that have a large population of Filipinos. That's where you can find Max's. So, for example, out in LA, they're out in Glendale. And I used to go there a lot when we were little.
Yeah, and I did have their fried chicken. I enjoyed it.
Yeah? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear. I don't remember. I think it was so long ago that I don't remember. I'm sure the chicken was good. I'll take her word for it.
Yeah, Filipino fried chicken, they're pretty legit. Like, I mean, I enjoy Jollibee. And
how can we forget about Jolly? Y'all, forget everything we just said and just go to a Jolly. Just go to a Jollibee. How could I forget?
Oh man,
how could I forget Jollibee?
Because Jollibee is a chain, probably. You want to explore more of the smaller businesses.
That's true. But if you want a good intro to like Filipino fast food, right?
And where there's a Jollibee, there's a seafood city. So go to the grocery store. And
we're forgetting the most basic stuff.
Yeah.
Go to a seafood city.
One of my favorite dessert, and it's like a recent change, is have you ever tried taho?
You know, I didn't try it in the Philippines.
I haven't even tried it in the States.
I tried it in historic Filipino town. I went to a very small mom and pop market, but it was the end of day. It was good, but I imagined it's better in the Philippines. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
It's like such a good balance of like the sweet and not sweet. Yeah. They just know how to do it right.
Also, if you know Asian, Not too sweet. That is our thing, yo.
That's a compliment.
Asians love, like, if we're dessert, if we say after trying your dessert, ooh, I love it. Not too sweet. That means we really, 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 really freaking love your dessert. If you want to check out more Filipino-owned businesses, Filipino-inspired places to go, our Rhino account, it's at ticket number 2 anywhere. You'll clearly see what's labeled as like a Filipino business or businesses that have Filipino things. So we encourage you to follow us and we can be friends because we're always posting about our food adventures on there as well.
And just so you know, Rhino is a travel app providing a platform for others to learn new experiences from diverse perspectives. With this app, you're able to connect with others, build a community, and share your travel stories through your own identities.
Yes, and lots of recommendations. So a few examples of identities and the ways that you can label your posts are, BIPOC, women, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, different sorts of labels to help people see which places are catered to those groups or maybe more accepting of those groups. So those tags will help others find travel experiences suited for them, or if they're looking for a particular one, like if they want to support experiences that are BIPOC owned or catered towards BIPOC, those are great ones to kind of like save for their next trip. So as Asian American women who absolutely love to travel, I mean, this is a travel podcast, we're super proud to be part of the Rhino platform and help spread these experiences and share these experiences for everyone.
Thanks, Rhino, for sponsoring this episode, and thank you all for listening in to the Ticket to Anywhere podcast. See you next time. There are some items in this episode we may get a small commission from if you buy through our direct links. It helps us to keep creating fun and super helpful travel content for you.
We wouldn't be anywhere without the support you've given us, and for that, we're always appreciative.
To be the first to get our episodes, subscribe to Ticket to Anywhere on YouTube.
Share this episode with a friend if you found it helpful. Listen to Ticket to Anywhere wherever you get your podcasts.